So, in recent months, the conflict in Ukraine's Kharkiv region has taken a troubling turn as Russia has begun to utilize glide bombs launched from the sanctuary of their own airspace. So, this new tactic of the Russians allows Russian forces to strike deeper into Ukrainian territory with a certain degree of precision and a certain degree of minimal risk to their own aircraft and pilots. Now, we have to remember that glide bombs are really what we used to know of as dumb bombs, which you would just sort of throw out the side of a plane and let mass and gravity do their work. They really didn't have any guidance other than falling to the earth. But now the Russians have been able to come up with kits, GPS and inertial navigation kits that they can strap onto these dumb bombs. And pretty much, and the delivery is the same. They drop them from planes. But they can add a certain degree of precision, accuracy to these things. And we're talking 500 kilogram bombs here. Like, these are huge. And the Russians don't use them anymore because the only delivery system that the Russians have to get these things on target is aircraft. And that's why we're talking about a sanctuary here in Russian airspace, is because the Ukrainians are not allowed to intercept Russian aircraft inside Russian airspace, or more particularly, the Ukrainians are not allowed to use American weapons to do that. And so what the Russians have been able to do is outfit these bombs with these navigation kits, and they strap them onto an Su-34, which is a fighter bomber, for this purpose. And the Russian aircraft will approach, but will remain in Russian airspace. It will approach the border. It still has a buffer there before it encounters any Ukrainian air defenses, and basically releases these bombs, which will so-called glide to their targets. Now, they're not the ultimate in precision, but I would say to you that a 500 kilogram bomb going off anywhere near where you might be would upset your day, I think, rather significantly. So basically, you've got to hand it to the Russians. When push comes to shove, it's like they reinvent the slingshot. It's not like they did any technological advancement here, but they've managed to find basically a retired munition and outfit these kits that makes this munition suddenly not only effective in terms of the damage that it causes tactically, but also they don't have to pay a cent other than for the kits. These bombs are already bought and paid for. So, and the cost of today's missile systems and things like that, this is just this is found money for the Russians. So. Now, all that said, it doesn't mean that the Ukrainians have to sit there and take this without making some sort of reaction. And in recent weeks, in the last couple of weeks anyways, I believe President Biden has given permission for the Ukrainians to use American weaponry inside the borders of Russia. Now, that is specific to this particular area, the Kursk area. It's not just the inability or the difficulty of knocking these bombs out of the sky. That is a difficult prospect. But what some American weapons can do, and in particularly the Army's ATACMS missile, what it can do is it can attack the airfields that the planes that are dropping these bombs originate from. And so Ukraine would be able to use the ATACMS missile to hit military infrastructure, in particular Air Force infrastructure. And so that would be hangars, planes, runways, fuel depots, all of the stuff, ammunition warehouses, all the stuff that goes into the bombing campaign using these glide bombs upon Ukraine. If Ukraine doesn't get permission to do this sort of thing using ATACMS, and as I said, I think they have been given that permission, but if they don't, then they just have to sit there and take a pummeling from these like 500, 1,000 kilogram, 1,500 kilogram bombs. These are huge bombs. If you're the one getting hit with this thing, it's going to hurt a lot. It needs to be pointed out that the Ukrainians have done a smash-up job of building indigenously manufactured drones and flying them extraordinary distances to hit Russian targets well in the Russian interior, well in the Russian rear. So the Ukrainians are going to continue to use drone warfare to tackle these air bases and such. But the ATACMS missile is another weapon, and it's a precise weapon as well. It's a far more expensive one than a drone, mind you. But nevertheless, the beauty of the ATACMS, despite the fact that it is extremely accurate and extremely damaging to the intended target, it also has a range of 300 miles. Now, I should point out that the ATACMS is a ballistic missile, so that means it doesn't fly like a cruise missile, sort of following the contours of the land. It's shot basically out of the atmosphere proper and re-enters. Now, the thing about that is it makes it difficult to defend, of course, and also it allows it to become more precise in its targeting. The range of these, as I said, is 300 miles. And so when you do a radius of 300 miles into Russian-held territory, you're going to find that there's a lot of air bases and a lot of infrastructure, ammunition dumps, that sort of thing that the Ukrainians can hit using these ATACMS missiles. These missiles are launched by, you can go two ways with these. They're both land-based missiles, so they can be launched from a HIMARS, which you may have heard of, and also from the MLS, or multiple rocket launch system, multiple launch rocket system, MLRS, and both of those delivery systems can fire the ATACMS. So again, I have to point out, and it is important, that Biden gave permission for Ukraine to use these weapons, but the stipulation is that these weapons can only be used in this theater of operation, and that is the theater of operation that exists on the northeast Ukrainian border with Russia.